film Fu, where the cuts are as clear as the kicks. I'm Shifu Pain, and what's the first thing you think of when you hear about dragons?
The concept has been around at least since Abzu and Tiamat of Mesopotamian mythology, or the well-known Fafnir of Norse mythology. The concept itself can be found in most, if not all, cultures, with many variations. But crucially, when we reach China, dragons are not the mindless beasts they are otherwise represented as. They're more often known for benevolence and bringing luck, being associated with water rather than fire, and being pretty much on the level of deities in Chinese mythology.
This is my long-winded way of saying we're talking about the 2011 Hong Kong production, Dragon.
Also called Wuxia, Dragon stars Donnie Yen and Takashi Kaneshiro, directed by Peter Ho-Sun-chan and written by Oiwa Lam and Joyce Chan, with Donnie Yen as the action choreographer, which certainly shows this film is post-Ip Man. And looking just at that film as context, the fast-paced action and heavy sounds of blows make sense as holdovers, as they're one of the most recognizable parts of the Ip Man fight scenes, even just for a casual viewer.
To give a brief outline of the plot,
a paper mill worker played by Yen is investigated by a detective played by Kaneshiro after an event involving a couple of bandits. The detective eventually realizes that Yen is actually a wanted warlord, and when word of this gets to his whole clan, including his father, Yen must fight his former allies and former life to save his family and his new life.
This story is one about redemption and asking if someone can reform after making so many terrible choices.
The question of redemption and reformation is one which Yen's character meets by having remorse for his past crimes and trying to embrace his new life so that it may make up for his past. This is contrasted by Kaneshiro, who holds the firm belief that the law is the law, a belief solidified by his past and a mistake he made, leading him to hold stubbornly to his idea of justice without considering individual context. To him, no one is capable of reform, while Yen tries to continually seek reform through trust and good deeds until his past comes back to haunt him. This does create a nice duality between the two, as they try to figure each other out while at the same time trying to seek redemption in their own ways, starting over and holding on to the same path respectively.
But with all this in mind, how do these elements factor into these fight scenes? And what is there to learn from all of this? Let's ignite the flame and find out.
In total, there are 3 fight scenes in this film, each distinct and containing some form of variation in order to hold the viewer's interest. The third has Yen having to fight with one arm, the second has this knife woman, and honestly is the least engaging out of the 3, leaving the first fight as the one we're going to look at today. This is the inciting incident of the film and starts with Yen's character trying to fight off a couple of bandits raiding a butcher's. It looks at first as though Yen can't fight, which is playing with our expectations a little bit, as we know Donnie Yen, Ip Man, one of the top martial art film actors today. We're already having to change our expectations and expect that he'll learn how to fight over the course of the film. What was shown instead is some elements of his character. To begin, Yen holds onto the guy through the beatings and being swung around, indicating a sort of Rocky Balboa quality. He perseveres and holds through the onslaught, endearing him to us and showing the qualities that make him the protagonist. It also demonstrates his proclivity to help others by getting in the middle of the conflict. Yen barely defends himself until he gets outside and into the water, where Yen swings wildly and makes a shot to the side of the head, accidentally killing him.
Or did he?
Well, he did. The guy's dead. It's when this detective character arrives that we're subverted again.
The investigation by Keneshiro's character exposes what actually happened during this fight.
Going back to the start, Yen carefully and meticulously manipulates events to gain an advantage, while still maintaining his cover as a papermaker. Once the butchers have vacated the building, his cover is stripped, as he catches himself using horse stance, and demonstrating his balance by practically stopping his trajectory. Sure, they say that ki energy is used. However, the actual ideas behind ki are dubious. It's tied into Taoist philosophy as being a sort of internal life energy that can be manipulated with enough training and practice.
From a personal standpoint, I would describe it as less of a field of energy and more about breath control and about focusing one's own willpower.
As the main bandit advances, Yen parries the oncoming attacks with techniques that I want to attribute to Wing Chun, but as they are so common relative to other martial arts, including the Honggar, and there is not the trademark trapping of an opponent's limbs, I cannot be sure. What I will say, however, is that Wing Chun is a martial art based on using an opponent's energy against them and turning a defensive technique into an offensive one, which would technically fit as Yen flows into each defensive parry until he has an opportunity to come in with an offense. In this case, the offensive move is a Tiger Claw to the eyes. The Tiger Claw is a core part of Tiger style within the 5 animal styles of Kung Fu. The Tiger Claw is typically used for slashing attacks or when attacking softer areas such as the eyes or the throat. Yen uses more Wing Chun as the fight progresses, proceeding to also use a joint lock on their arms. Then he uses the back of the hand to strike to his elbow or forearm, which causes him to punch himself. Hold on, how does that work? The force of the strike should send the arm in the same direction as the blow travels in, but the arm curls upward? Okay, granted, Yan is holding onto the guy's other arm, creating leverage to make the arm curl, but that would cause the arm to lose momentum as some of the kinetic energy would go into the immobile arm upon contact. And his hand is curling as well to make a clear shot with the knuckles? With enough force to knock out a tooth? If it hit the guy in the rib or the side, that would be feasible. Or if he hit himself with the side or thumb, that will make sense. But would it have the force to knock a tooth out and have it fly with the velocity to break a glass jar? Anyway, Yen then pulls a Liu Kang on the guy, which wins him for a while. After this, the other bandit tries to cut down Yen, which leads to Yen using a pressure point strike. Pressure point fighting can be found in Kyushu Jutsu, which itself is a modern version of Dimmak, a subset of Chinna. The pointed strike causes the guy to get what looks like a blood clot, and then some form of cardiac problem, and then he dies?
Not gonna lie, that felt kind of quick. I'm not a doctor or anything, can somebody check that?
As shown before, the fight goes outside and into the water. It's shown that Yen used the water to take most of the bandits' attacks, using fluid friction to take away some of the force, which I'll grant to them. It wouldn't stop the blows entirely, but it would sap them a little. Then it's shown that Yang precisely struck a nerve cluster, deadening the nerves and basically causing a brain death. This blow is again dubious, as again, I'm not a biologist, so I don't know the ins and outs. But what was shown is that a lot of blood enters the head, the brain is severely damaged, and the heart stops. That feels too quick and instant. And anyway, the area that regulates the heart is the medulla, which is by the brainstem. This is more the frontal lobe.
This fight scene serves as the inciting incident, so it sets up the rest of the film. I mentioned how Yen's character is very Balboa-like, and I will say that this holds true throughout the rest of the film.
As he maintains his desire to carve out a new life for himself and fiercely fights to protect it. This scene, however, does demonstrate how broken he is on the inside. All throughout the rest of the film, as he maintains his cover, he keeps a good-natured, grim and helpful facade, which drops during this scene. His face otherwise appears vacant and gaunt, almost like something is missing. It's so cold and stone-like, emphasized by how scientific and specific his killing of the two is. It's not violent slashes or stabs, but surgical points that instantly kill. His immediate doing so without hesitation just emphasizes the monstrous nature of his past, that this is just another day to him, not a challenge or a question.
Let's go back to when Yen steps in. He does hesitate at first.
Thinking through his actions and probably trying to maintain his cover, the moment he does say enough is when the proprietor of the butchers and his wife are attacked and harassed. This, I think, causes him to remember when he felt remorse for his actions in the past, that being when a family was killed in another butcher's, which included the children of the proprietor. This is the moment that made Yen snap before. So seeing the same thing happen again in a similar circumstance causes him to not only feel remorse for what he did, but actively do something to prevent it happening again. Try to right the wrongs of the past. Jumping ahead to the end of the film, after his past is exposed, Yen cuts off his arm to show his devotion to his new life, and his father comes to take Yen's son, leading into the final fight that ends with his father being killed. The only way to truly be free of his past is for the remnants of his past to be shunned away. The hands that killed, the father that made him a killer, and the secret that brought it all back.
So in the end, when all is said and done, what can we take away from this film?
From a martial arts perspective, this is more in terms of using these films as a learning tool, but it can also be applied to lessons, and that is to not take every word as gospel. There are often actions or lessons we take away and believe wholesale. This is true of any other subject, is lift and copy wholesale without pressure testing or analyzing what is given. Doing this can be dangerous, especially if the source is not really verifiable. Please be sure to fact check and test whatever you are taught. Learning across generations is not a marathon or a sprint, but a relay. It is up to you to carry the baton.
Finally, what matters most in this film is the idea of our past weighing us down. The choices we've made or the past, or the things that have happened to us, past traumas weighing us down. I think what this film is showing, and what I want to stress the most, is that these things are not what defines us. They only can do so if we allow them.
Your story may not have such a happy beginning, but that doesn't make you who you are. It is the rest of your story, who you choose to be.
Thank you for watching this week's video. This is our first Donnie Yen film looked at here on the channel, and I'm really looking forward to looking at some more. I found this film to be really interesting. It's only really when I got to the midpoint that it kind of felt as though it was dragging a little bit, but other than that, I would recommend it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a new video. And until next time, everyone, peace be with you.